going to be an entrepreneur. You get to be your own boss, make a lot of money, tell other people what to do.
We all love an entrepreneurial success story. The protagonist overcomes a variety of obstacles and successfully manages to build a thriving, successful company. But sometimes this isn't always the case. Sometimes it's the lack of money or the wrong mindset that sends a newly formed business into the ground. And sometimes the idea just wasn't good enough. Putting all that aside, good ideas can be very hard to come by. Usually, finding a good idea that is both innovative and profitable usually leads to a successful business. That's what the business world has told most young entrepreneurs over the years. Whilst this is true in part, often the decisions made after coming up with the idea are much more influential to an organization's development. This video, we will be looking at some of the most innovative and exciting businesses that ended up failing despite appearing to be very forward-thinking to begin with. Number 5. Tiko. Imagine owning a small 3D printer that you can use instantly without any complications. A world where the traditional 3D experience isn't heavy or complicated, unreliable, and the worst of all, industrial. Setting more time to the actual printing of ideas rather than calibrating the actual printers. Tiko was built to solve this very problem by coming up with a unibody 3D printer. It was supposed to set a new standard for 3D printing entirely. The compactness of the device lets you print remotely by simply using their mobile app. Not only that, but the price was incredibly affordable at a whopping $179. Might not sound cheap at first, but when you begin to consider that the average 3D printer now costs $700, you begin to realize how truly revolutionizing Tiko could have been. So why don't you have a Tiko in your room? Well, the company simply bit off more than they could chew. The creators of this product hugely underestimated the difficulties of transitioning from a fully functional prototype to a mass-produced product. Relying on early quotations of suppliers which only seemed to work when they had a minimum order count. But when it came to 4,000 orders shipped to other countries, it's a different story. They committed to so many bulk orders that the buyers only received their printers 7 to 12 months after initial ordering date. And when it finally did ship, by that time, the buyers got so sick of the added inconvenience they ordered along with the product that just about all of the 4,000 printers that arrived were sent straight back for refund. Experts say this could have been avoided had they slowly transitioned to the right supplier suited for what they wanted to do instead of going guns blazing with a low-capacity supplier. Number 4. Secret. Have you ever had something you wanted to get off your chest anonymously? Secret was an app that let you share messages without a name tag with your close circle of friends of friends, and publicly. It was an idea with so much traction, it was designed for school and workspaces to share honest opinions and preferences where people weren't bound to the real name rule of other social platforms. It was different from other anonymous apps with the feature that you were able to have a closed-off, anonymous sharing chat amongst a contact list or group of friends. The app was growing so much with the initial buzz and was extremely addictive. However, it started receiving lots of backlash around cyberbullying. In April 2015, Secret's founder and CEO, David Baito, announced his decision to shut the company down, claiming that the way people were using the app, including the spreading of malicious rumors, was not in line with what he had originally envisioned. Number 3. Skarp Laser Razor. This amazing laser technology looks like it was torn right out of a sci-fi comic. The Skarp company was able to raise over $4 million. This amazing invention was going to put an end to razor burn, ingrown hair, cuts, bleeding, and even infection. A razor that reduces waste with no irritation and shaves smooth and clean. Sounds like having your cake and eating it. Cutting through hairs like a hot knife through butter with a laser sounds awesome, doesn't it? Except it was more of a blunt knife than a hot one. Kickstarter suspended the campaign as the company was unable to produce a working prototype, which they eventually made, well, kind of. The razor could only cut 2 hairs at a time, and the fiber was incredibly fragile. It couldn't even be used against the skin like a regular razor. Instead, It had to precisely hover over the skin. You cut too fast, the fiber breaks. If the company had actually managed to get this thing to work in a reliable way, it would have closely resembled a laser hair removal device. However, it wouldn't have been bright or go deep enough to affect the hair follicles in the pore. Instead, it would just cut the hair off from the surface of the skin, making irritation and roughness a problem once again. Number 2. Phonebloks. It's usually only one component that's the cause of breaking down your phone. Phonebloks was aimed at letting you replace different components of the phone, to even repurposing the phone entirely to fit your personal needs. It was open to letting well-known technology brands join in and create a wider selection of specially made blocks. This would have removed the back pain of buying a new phone simply because your home button is jammed. This idea was so great that even big companies like Google with the Project Aura and LG with the LG G5 swept in to grab the million-dollar idea. But sadly, none of them succeeded in launching the modular phone. The lead engineer of Google's Project Aura stated that when they did their user studies, they found out that most users don't care about modularizing the core functions. They expect them all to be there, to always work, and to be consistent. The hackability of these phones would have been really interesting to see had they come to the mainstream. It's quite a trend now that the public wants thin, sleek aluminum phones as more of a status symbol than anything else, which the modular phones wouldn't have been able to bring them, being bulkier to hold the magnets for the different modules, destroying the most important factor, pocketability. Before we wrap up with the number 1 spot, here's a list of a few more ideas that didn't quite make the public launch phase. Number 1. Solar roadways. What's more enticing than solar panel-designed roads that make use of all that continuous waste of sun rays landing on roads all year round? This idea was led by Scott and Judy Bouchard, who received worldwide attention after successfully pitching the idea on a few social platforms. Besides the sustainability factor, these panels were also engineered with LED lights that would have been powered by the road itself and programmed to show all types of useful signage from road signs all the way to recreational areas. Parking areas and roadways would have no longer had to be repainted either, as they could easily be reprogrammed instead. The safety advantages were even more impressive, with the more interactive cross-sections and the feature of warning drivers miles ahead of any further obstructions to the road to make avoidance easier. After the first solar roadway opened in 2016, named the Wattway, this idea appeared to have more potholes than originally imagined. Sebastian Anthony calculated in Extreme Tech that the cost to replace all roads in the United States with solar roadway panels would be around $56 trillion. Even if you weren't going to wrap the whole of America with these things, it cost $5.2 million for a 0.6-mile long solar road in France. Besides the hefty price, even at its peaking performance, the roads wouldn't have been able to produce half of its expected energy, as if 2% of the surface of the panels were obstructed by a shadow, it would decrease the efficiency by 50%. Now think of how many cars, rocks, leaves, dust, and people would be on these platforms 24/7. This wouldn't even be considering the durability of the roadway, which also falls short due to the fact that one little stone caught in a tire can damage the entirety of a solar panel. This handful of failed startups teach us that an idea cannot be the main component that leads a company towards its ultimate success. While important to the birth of the company, its growth and success will depend on the execution of components such as marketing, sales, product, service innovation, the finance function, and customer care. The world also pays homage to some of the coolest and most exciting gadgets and products that turned into some of the most successful businesses the world has ever seen. After all, as a budding entrepreneur, you'll learn a lot from the failures of others in terms of potential challenges and the pitfalls to avoid. And at Krepling.com, the statistics of successful entrepreneurs far outweigh the businesses that end up on the cutting room floor. Click the link below to get started. Until next time, good luck on your entrepreneurial journey.